Okay, apparently I'm live, although the feedback has been, as usual, YouTube is telling me that there is no one connected, but, oh, now it thinks I'm connected. Excellent. Anyway, hi, good morning, everyone. I figured I would start a bit earlier today because I have a whole day clear, which is wonderful. So today my plan is to stand up a staging environment. And what do I mean by that? So currently, you may have seen that occasionally I'll post out links to our beta site, which is, or beta for the Americans. I've confused enough people with the word beta before, but this is beta as in alpha, beta, gamma, delta, all that stuff. So this is the beta site. This runs on different infrastructure from the main site, and it was originally designed so that we could try out completely new and scary branches of what on earth we were planning on releasing. And that's cool. It was so that I could send out links to people. They could say, yes, this is working for me, or my use case does work, or my use case doesn't work. And it was useful at the beginning, but it has now morphed into being essentially our staging environment. And a staging environment here, I mean an environment where before we push any changes to the live site, we'll run it in beta first and make sure it just works. You know, like literally run the thing, click on a few buttons, just do a few smoke test kind of things, just to make sure we haven't broken anything. And it's amazing the number of things this has caught. So it is now best practice for us to do that. We always deploy to the staging environment, the beta environment first, and then once we're happy, we then take the version we just tested, the exact version, and dump it onto production. So there are two problems with that. One, if I have got a long-running experiment going, for example, execution support, then I will be using the beta environment for two things. One, to test out something new, and two, just occasionally to roll out, to test new versions of the main site. Now, my guess is that there's going to be a branch for execution support that's going to be around for a little while before I'm comfortable with it being the main way we run all the compilers and run, well, execution as well. So I'd like to move to separating the idea of staging from the idea of beta. And then because I'm running these things all the time, I'm probably going to make it so that the beta environment and the staging environment only come up when we're actually using them. Oh, hang on, my wife's sending me messages here. Sorry. It's David Attenborough's 93rd birthday today. I'm very excited. I actually panicked this morning when I saw all the tweets about David Attenborough, fearing the worst, but actually he's just 93 and there's a lot of celebration, so I'm very excited. And my wife's just texted me something which is, David Attenborough would like to meet a trance producer to remix a 1956 recording of a Balinese gamelan ensemble. That sounds very exciting, but I will reserve that for later after I finish doing this. So where were we? Yeah, I wanted to run a separate staging environment from the beta environment and have them actually come up and down, because if I fire up AWS right now and do the logging in, we will see, if I go to EC2, that right now there's probably 4 instances running, 5 instances running, 5. And what do we got? We've got a stopped builder node. That's the thing that builds all of the compilers every night and only starts up and stops from time to time. We have a beta C5 large instance. Now, I'm not paying full price for that because I'm actually bidding on it, but it's still money, right? So I'm still paying for this service just to have beta up. And we don't use it all that often. It's convenient to hit it from time to time, but I think I would like these to go up and down as we need them, as opposed to just running all the time. And also, it doesn't need to be running on a giant piece of hardware here. So looks like we've actually got 3 prod nodes at the moment, just for while we're here. This T3 medium is, or rather these 2 T3 mediums are the regular regular sites that, regular instance types that we run kind of across the board. They are part of our auto scaling group, which means that I pay a fixed price for them and that I know ahead of time. And it's we can scale up and down the number of instances that run in there depending on load. This C5 large, on the other hand, is one I bid for. So I bid for the usage of that machine, and the bid can fail. So I'm bidding currently quite a lot lower than the current price. Let's look at the spot requests over here, which is what this is. A spot request is like a bidding thing. So here is one of those thingamajigs. I'm prepared to pay 5 cents an hour for that, which is considerably cheaper than the regular C5 large. So if we get that bid, if there's currently spare hardware and no one else is bidding more than us, we get this machine. So that's how that part works. And launch and auto scaling have changed a bit. I can probably be smarter about that, and that's another whole kettle of fish, which I'll worry about another time. So anyway, here are the instances. So what are we going to do? We're going to do a bit of git grep, basically. You're going to watch me typing git grep a lot to find out all the places where the word beta is sort of baked in. And I think it's going to be relatively straightforward. And we're going to duplicate it to have a staging environment, and we're going to make the staging environment look more like production, because the beta version actually runs a sort of beta branches of some of the stuff that's part of the infrastructure, the stuff that I will probably be changing soon to deal with and handle the execution support that I'm expecting is coming down the line. So I definitely need to separate those a bit more. So let's take a look. Let's see where we are. First and foremost, I am going to open up IntelliJ and make sure I'm in the right project. Oh, you can see that I was working on something with execution before. So while I'm here and talking to myself, this version of Compiler Explorer I'm running locally has the culmination of all the work I was doing yesterday with FireJail and some relatively, I was going to say hacky, but I'm actually reasonably happy with this way of running the compilers in a jail. So at the moment, all these compilers are not running directly. They're actually running inside of FireJail, which is pretty cool, I think. And they're all just working. Now, the Wine compilers aren't going to work, probably. And that's where I started to think to myself, well, how am I going to test Wine? I'm going to have to do some extra things to get Wine working. And at that point, I'm like, well, running it locally is one thing, but I need to be able to run it on the instances that are in AWS in order for me to develop confidence that this is the way to go. And then I was like, well, I can't use the beta site because we use that for staging. And then, here I am. And I realized I haven't been looking at any of the messages coming in. If anyway, hey GGN, cool. So, the changes are relatively minor. I'm going to leave that alone right now, and I'm just going to go to Compiler Explorer image, which is a separate repository, as I was explaining yesterday, which contains all of the information about how to run Compiler Explorer as a site. Some of which is useful for everybody, like how to build the compilers, how to install compilers into opt Compiler Explorer, and some of it is very specific to just actually Compiler Explorers, like my site itself. One of those, for example, is the Terraform directory here. Now, if you wanted to stand up your own entire Compiler Explorer service on AWS, you could probably use this as a template, but I couldn't promise you that it would work anywhere else. So the first thing I'm going to remind myself is how when I go to Compiler Explorer /beta, how that ends up on a different server than the regular server. So if I go into the UI first of all, I know that that's partly there's a load balancer, which is like the end point when you get to anything.godbolt.org. Well, with exceptions, few exceptions, it ends up on hitting this. It ends up hitting CloudFront first, which is a caching proxy that Amazon supplies, configured elsewhere, but a miss on the cache will get through to this load balancer, which is inappropriately called GCC Explorer app, but I'm not about to change that right now. And it has a listener on port 80 and port 443, although it should never actually get hit on port 80. The CloudFront layer in front will redirect all HTTP to HTTPS at the edge. And okay, so that's cool. So that's just a load balancer with listening, and it has an IP address, and it lives in a VPC. Then there are target groups, and target groups live within that. I'm trying to remember how this works. Okay, so we've got beta and GCC Explorer nodes. So these are definitely where the load balancer knows that certain traffic goes to certain groups of machines, and these groups, in the case of the beta, there's always exactly one in the group. In the case of GCC Explorer nodes, again, terrible name, Compiler Explorer. It's taken me years to get out that name. These nodes here, if we look at the targets, there are actually three. Those are the three that we saw in the instances view. So those are the 3 instances that are in there. So let's go back to the load balancer and remind ourselves. Edit attributes. So where is the magical thing that tells me how a target group is routed to or routed to? There is somewhere there is a configuration pane, and I can't find it. Security boot attribute subnets. Okay, well, let's attack this from the other point of view. I don't actually use the UI to configure this. I used to, and it was error prone, and it's definitely something I clearly forget how to use. So we're going to go to Terraform. Terraform is a product that allows you to explain declaratively what you want your environment to look like, and then you can just say make it so. So if we look here, I've got all these different .tf files that configure different aspects of my compiler explorer environment, and so if I just grep in there, which is the git grep equivalent for the word beta, we should be able to find out where the heck that's being configured. So for example, these are the 2 target groups. This is how those things are configured, and I have a beta and a prod set up, and so I should be able to find another reference to this particular resource which says, hey, under these circumstances route traffic to that. And then having found that, let's do that .beta. There it is, target group ARS, application load balancer, and the auto scaling group. All right, that makes some sense to me. So the auto scaling group is the configuration itself to scale in and scale out instances, and when they do, add them to a group of machines. So obviously there will be a beta group, which is currently set to always be exactly 1 instance, but I'm using auto scaling groups just for convenience. And when machines are entered into that group, or rather when machines are created in that group, they should be registered in this target group. So that's that one. And there are 2 references in alb.tf. So let's go and have a look at alb.tf. So listener rule. Aha. Okay, so the rule here is for a listener on the ALB. ALB is Application Load Balancer. So this is the Compiler Explorer ALB listen HTTP beta, and this is saying forward to the beta if the path matches /beta and then anything after beta. All right, that's great. Oh, and I've just got an alert. There is probably the machine being shut down, shrinking the capacity. Yeah, so actually if we're very quick now, we should be able to see over here in instances. So the load on the site has gone down, and yeah, this instance earlier, this T3 medium has just been terminated because we don't need it anymore, which is nice. All right, back to here. Yeah, so this is the condition, and the hint here is it's inside the load balancer like I thought, and it's a listener. So I should be able to find it in the UI now. Not that we need to find it in the UI, but just for completeness. So load balancers, this is the ALB, listeners, these 2 things here, view edit rules. Okay, I didn't see that. Let's have a look. And yes, if path is /beta, then forward to beta. Brilliant. So clearly what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create a staging group, a staging, and then a rule to forward to /staging. So let's start with that. Let's give that a go first and foremost. I'm going to find an auto scaling group. So let's look at those first. Okay, so there is there's the non-spot prod. That is spot is that spot instance of the bidding. So this group here is for the production group, as in like the main site, and it's the not spot. That's the one I actually just pony up for, because then I can guarantee I get those instances. And then the policy here, which is, this is the thing that scales it up and down. We're looking to have no more than 25% CPU load. It's not the best way of scaling in and out, I'll be honest with you, but it does for now. And there's the beta site. And it's, again, it's an auto scaling group only because of the convenience of doing it this way, and having everything be configured through the same mechanism. And then this is the spot instance for prod. So I'm going to need something like spot staging, and I'm going to use spot pricing at least for now. I don't see any reason not to. So we're going to call this spot staging. So a little the language that Terraform uses is a bit quirky. Ultimately, it's pretty much a wash with JSON, but we have a resource, we give it a type of resource, and then we give it a unique name. And that unique name is then used to associate a link with the actual one that runs inside AWS. So it needs to be unique, and there's a binding process. So if you're creating new instances, as we will be here, then there's no problem. But if you're attaching to an existing infrastructure you've configured inside the UI, then you need to run a command to say associate this particular sort of username with a particular actual instance of that resource in AWS. Okay, so we're gonna have desired capacity of 1, at least right now. So at the moment, we're just gonna literally fire up a whole other node. It's gonna use Compiler Explorer Beta Large as a launch configuration. Now we can't use the launch configuration. This is the information that's used to initialize the instance in the first place. If we use this configuration, those nodes will start up and think that they are beta nodes, and we don't want that. So let's go, and we'll take a rain check on that, and I will write that down because I will forget otherwise. So to do launch config. I guess I can just put staging right there. And you know what? I'm not even going to call this spot staging. I'm just going to call it staging, and then we can change our mind about it without having to also change the name. It doesn't actually matter for most things whether it's spot or not. So one of those, I'm going to assume all of these are sensible defaults. Max size of 4, name spot beta. We're just going to call this staging. Local subnets, those are cool. Environment, staging, name, staging. So those two things, these are tag values that will be propagated on all of the instances that are created inside this auto-scaling group. And the most important one here is the name one, because then when the instances themselves are created and appear inside this list here, the name will be staging, and that will be, you know, very useful to know the difference between the various machines. Okay, this is red because we haven't defined that. Good, that's going to help me with my to-do. Last thing is that site compiler explorer. I use that key and that tag across all of the resources that are used by Compiler Explorer, so that when I go and look at the bill at the end of the month, I can see how much was Compiler Explorer and how much was just my own personal monkeying around, which has nothing to do with Compiler Explorer. Everything's Compiler Explorer for what it's worth. And then target group ARN. So, excuse me. The target group here is another thing we're going to have to change. This is going to be a staging one. This is that group of machines that is a potential set of targets for the load balancer to forward traffic into. So we have two things to do so far. We need to go and make this Compiler Explorer -staging -large. I'm just going to make that -staging because, again, it's just whatever I'm going to make the staging machine. Let's go and do the launch configuration first. So that is an lc.tf, I think, here. Okay, so we're going to steal the beta large here. There we go. And we're going to do the worst copy pasting. So AWS launch configure, and we just call this staging, right? Staging. Brilliant. Okay, create before destroy. Name prefix equals Compiler Explorer staging. Beta image ID. Now, this is one of those very important differences, is that the staging absolutely should be just using the same image ID as the main site itself. Or I guess it should also be flexible, but it should definitely be separate from the beta image, because that's one of the things I want to be able to vary. So I'm going to go and copy this up here. This is like some local variables. Staging image ID equals the same as that. Auto format. I'm too lazy to ever line these things up myself. So at the moment, they're all going to be the same. So it means that if we're planning on rolling out a new image type to production, we can actually update the staging image ID first, make sure that works, and then update the image ID to get production to change. So that's probably worthwhile doing. Okay, let's back down here. Where were we? Staging image ID, c5.large. Yeah, that's Yeah, okay, we're going to leave it as a spot image for now. Again, I want to change it, so that's why I haven't encoded it in the name. Key name is Matt Godbolt. Oh dear, so that's the worst thing ever. It's like the key, this is the SSH key that lets me log into the machine in the first place. There are other ways that works. Once the machine boots up, it actually goes and grabs a whole bunch of allowed public keys, so that I can have different keys for everyone. But this is like the main root one. I should probably change that. It is compiler explorer role. Excuse me. Those are the oh dear. Those are the permissions that the instance itself has. So in AWS, users have permissions, and so machines also have like a machine account, which means that anything running on that machine picks up the permissions of that particular machine. And that's the thing that obviously I want to lock down, because if anyone, God forbid, is able to compromise the site, then they'll be able to do whatever the instance permissions are in AWS. Now you could imagine if the permissions there allow you to fire up more instances, then hacking one machine allows you to open up as many machines as you like, and that's obviously no good. So this is locked down. The security group is more like a network security group. Public IP address equals true. Now actually I don't think I need to get, I don't think, so we'll test that later on, but like I don't think anymore having public IP addresses is useful for these machines, because they all live behind the admin machine. We never directly connect them, but I'm not going to change that right now. This will be staging user data. Enable monitoring false. EBS optimized equals true. Sure. Spot prices, we talked about it. A 10 gig drive sounds good to me. Now, of course, a lot of this stuff should be, dried up. Don't repeat yourself up. I'm learning how to write stuff in this Terraform file format, and so I wasn't aware of how one could extract common blocks of code out yet. I know a little bit more about it, but I'm not going to get too distracted. So this user data here is actually passed into the instance as like a command. This is like the command line parameter to the instance itself. Well, let's take a moment to see what actually happens as when an instance boots up. This is kind of interesting, and I'm going to remind myself. So this user data script is run. So this is like the thing that is actually passed to the image when it starts up. So it just starts up a regular image. This runs, it grabs some known hosts. This allows it to get to GitHub without it complaining, updates and installs Git. Git clones the image repository and then calls setup.sh inside there. And setup.sh is a whole bunch of complicated shell scripts that gradually do more and more work to bring everything up. And this is where that user data comes into. Here we are. So as part of that startup, it curls this magic URL, and Amazon provide an endpoint there which can give you all sorts of metadata about yourself. So you, sorry, I'm terrible at personifying everything. The instance information is available to anything that curls this URL. And so getting latest / user dash data gives me whatever was passed in over wherever it was. I've lost it, launch control here. So this user data is available. So that it gives me a way to put a per instance type, like dynamic per instance type information, and pass it to an otherwise templated, completely static built system. I don't know what I mean. But anyway, you can see what I'm doing here is I curl it and I'm making it caps, and it then tells me what environment I'm on. If it's not set, then it defaults to prod. And then if it's beta, it goes branch equals beta. So I think pretty much, we can see another place where we're going to have to change this here. No, this is exactly the point. I definitely want to run the master branch in staging, whereas in the beta environment, I do want to run the beta branch. And what I mean by the branch there, this is the branch of the project which does the configuration. This is not Compiler Explorer itself. The Compiler Explorer site is a tarball that comes down and is just run. But the infrastructural stuff comes from here. And so the infrastructure will be the master infrastructure and not the beta infrastructure, because we want to test that before we go, everything's fine. Now, I may come back and actually have a staging infrastructure at some point, but this is one of the main reasons for making this difference. So, after that, you can see it checks out the branch, carries on, and then runs more things and does some all sorts of magical bits and pieces. And then this packer setup here. Why are you complaining? Unresolved variable. Okay, because it's not set. That's on purpose. So when I run this, there are two sort of ways it runs. One is like on the live site itself, which will not have packer setup set, and so it will carry on, pull Compiler Explorer, pull Nginx, and then go off to run the site or finish setup. But when I build a pre-imaged version which already has done most of this stuff, so that the startup time is quicker. And so Packer, which is another product made by the same people as Terraform, Packer can configure an instance, an AWS instance, make it start up, and then snapshot it at the end. So I don't want to snapshot the huge, great big giant Docker images. They change too often. But I do want to snapshot all of this stuff so that it's only an incremental change when the site comes up, which makes it faster to start up, which is great. Okay, so we need to make this env different. But this seems like it's going to be okay because it's only special. The branch is only special for beta. Glonk. A node is being started up again. I guess people are using the site. So launch correct. So the annoying thing about this is it's Base64 encoded, and I'm wondering if there's a better way to do this. So I'm going to Google's. So let's do Terraform Base64. Ha ha ha. Ah, there we go. Base64 encode hello world. So does that mean I can actually replace this with Base64 encode? Yes. Encode beta, because that would get rid of my annoying comment there. Now this is obviously angry at me. How am I supposed to do this? Terraform 0.12. Well, let's go and see what version of Terraform I'm using. Where is my shell? Shell is here. Terraform. I can't imagine I'm using the old version. I tend to use the most recent one. 11. Oh, well, there you go. Perhaps I should go and get a new version of Terraform. Terraform.io. Which Terraform? Yeah, I thought I grabbed it. Oh, what? Well, that's useful. For Terraform, this is how to use it in Terraform 0.12, which is in fact the latest one, or at least the most stable one. So I'm going to stick with that. Okay, Base64 supported built-in functions. Example would be lovely. So it looks like we actually use a string and then we use the dollar syntax like that. Let's give it a go. So I think it's meaning that, but we'll see. And then we'll make a staging one up here, which obviously is also going to be staging user data equals that staging. Now the IDE is not complaining, but that's not necessarily that doesn't necessarily mean that we've got it right. But I prefer that already. Isn't that nice? I think I prefer more having all the AMI images next to each other, because then I can see that they're different, whereas these two things are obviously just the same name. Okay, so we were there. Staging user data, false. Okay, I think that means we have a staging launch configuration now, which was nice. Okay, something else that we've got going on over here is as part of the run script, the let's see if I can find it. Run site.show. This is it here. So this chap, or chap-s, or whatever, this script is the thing that actually runs Compiler Explorer at the end of the day. And it does all this nonsense, rsync some bits and pieces to speed up libraries, fires up Docker containers, and then ultimately runs Nginx to be the reverse proxy that lives in front of Compiler Explorer and does some level of sanitization. So, And yeah, this used to be the case that we would have many containers, one for each language we supported, and then we unified them along the way. So now that there is, that's interesting. I thought there was something else. Yeah, that's interesting. Wait for container unified. Does this put the thing /beta on the end of it? Sorry, I'm thinking out loud here because I know that on the beta site, the name of the container is unified-beta. And that's so that when the log messages come out, I can see them in Papertrail, which is the log aggregation system I use. I can see that it's coming from the beta site because the name of the source is unified-beta. So I want to keep that for staging so I can tell the difference between like a real production problem and a regular and just a staging environment. Okay. So magical things going on here. Like Google API key thing. Yeah, I should really fix that. That's something I need to make sure. I don't think we're using the Google API key anymore now because Google have locked us out as they've stopped supporting the things we used to use, the link shortener. But the reason I'm bringing that up is that the environment variable there, that's an environment variable that's set. And, oh dear me, I'm getting more and more of these messages. I'm actually going to have to check this. What's going on over here? Let's refresh this view. Yeah, we had obviously got quite a lot of load at the moment, and so 2 more instances are firing up. Now, the instances take forever to fire up, unfortunately. And that's mainly, let me show you what's going on here. So we go to Papertrail here. Oh, blast. Hang on. Let's make sure yeah, okay. Papertrail here is the system I use to tail all those logs. So you can see that this is this unified here. If it's a unified-beta, I would know it's the beta site. And we can see, let's pick on this chap, for example. This is one of those 2 that have just fired up. It's running all of the compilers right now to get all of their version names, and it just takes a very long time to do that, unfortunately. So I'd love to speed that up. I haven't really thought of a way of doing it yet, but it's doing it now. It's doing it now. Sorry, it's what it is right now. So I'll leave that going. Those will start up soon. Gosh, I'm distracting myself. You had a unified. Yeah, I'm looking for oh, hang on a sec. I wonder if this is because in the beta branch itself, so there is a compiler explorer image. If I do git if, so these are the changes we've just made. I'm going to git stash those for now. Let's make sure I've got the latest. Git checkout beta. So this is the beta branch. Does that have the word beta like hard coded in here? I'd hate if it did. Unified dash can, okay, it's there. Was it there in the other version? I guess I should merge in master here anyway. It's very much behind. Let's push. That's just me updating what the beta site image of this. That's one of the reasons. One of the problems of this is that they are definitely divorced, like the live site and the beta site. Thank you, Carol. Yes, I think so. Carol is messaging me in the chat here saying about correct syntax style. I think everything is there. I'd love it if you looked over the syntax and you were able to help me with any other improvements. And certainly you mentioned local variables, Carol. Helping me remove more of the repeated stuff would be great. But I think, yes, that the auto reconfigure has done the job. I was able... Ooh, sorry, a bird's just flown into the window. Yes, I think it's okay. I'd love for your comments though, because Carol raised a bug saying this is not the style that Terraform is written in typically, and I was reluctant to move to it until I could automatically configure my IDE to format it the way that it should be, and luckily I was able to. So I think we're good. So thank you. Ha! Hello, Shady. Okay, I'm going to check out master again. Git stash pop. And container suffix is still there. Okay, so where does container suffix come from? And it's local, isn't it? Oh, I see. So there is question. And my computer is being slow because I've just changed all the files underneath it. Ah, okay. This links into the next part, which is good. somewhere in here, you see this, this is it sourcing the configuration file. And that config file comes from site-dev mode, and dev mode comes from the first parameter that's passed to the run site, which I think comes from, really? Confused am I? No, that doesn't make sense. If it's not equal to prod, then external port equals 7,000. I'm skeptical that that's the right thing to do there. Maybe there's something else going on. I think I know what's going on. Anyway, right. This bit here is setting up some variables. Some thank you, Carol. That's great. That's great. And would be very much appreciated. As I'm learning all of this stuff, and this is very new, as you can see. Okay, so this sets up some variables that are going to be used below, and then we source this config file, which is called site-dev mode. And dev mode is the environment we started in. So site beta says no external port. Brilliant. Okay, I am going to copy paste site-beta.shell to be site-staging.sh. Already exists. Well. Obviously I've thought about this before. What the heck is staging? Okay, source when running in staging mode. Okay. Git grep staging. Have I already done this before? Okay, that's to do build staging. This is all in the building stuff. I must have been when I was thinking about having a staging branch separate, and I don't think we have that anymore, and I'm not going to, in fact. So we're going to have this. This is going to be master because we want to run the master. We definitely want it on external port 80. We're going to do --env staging. Yeah, let's grab all of those because we want this to look like an interesting combination. Branch equals release. I don't know what that branch is used for, you know. Just go and find out what that branch is used for, because it's possible that's gone. Branch. Ahaha. I see. That branch is the tag that I then go off and find inside the what's it called? There's a tag that tells it which version of the project to download and run, and that allows me to change staging to be separate from that. So we definitely need that to be called staging. So site staging branch equals staging. It's not really a branch; it's the sort of the branch name of which version to run. 80-m staging we'll put here. Ensure no ID clash sounds good to me. Production container suffix -staging. Now someone's just asked, have I any experience with the famous Vim or Emacs in the past? Yes, I have many experiences with both of those editors. Most recently VI. VI is what I use everywhere else. I just like an IDE that has a lot more integration like this. It's just more natural to me for these kinds of projects. I know you can trick out VI, and I know there's VI modes for this, but I find that I'm very what's the word? I'm very productive in the JetBrains editors. They have all the things I need to use, and they work in a very obvious way to me, but I also use VI for pretty much everything else. So it's only if I have like an IDE, I'll use in my IDE mindset, I will use like regular keys like this. I mean, I can record macros, I can navigate very quickly. I don't even use the VI mode, as I say, for this. Okay, so we've got that branch there. Okay, so that will mean it'll pick out this file, and this file will tell it which which version of the code to pull down. So we will pull down the staging version of the code. All right, so now we're going to pop the stack right back up to launch configuration. And so we now have a launch configuration. I think that makes sense. We will create an instance. The instance will have this user data the user data will be the quoted, the base64 encoded string staging. That staging string will get into this script here. Actually, it won't get into this script here. This script here runs setup. Setup goes and gets the string here. That sets env, and then everything else cascades on from that. So this, if it's beta, it will use the beta branch, the actual Git branch for the compiler explorer image project that's going to run it. Otherwise, it's going to use just compiler explorer image, and that's correct. Then when it ends up running site, run underscore site, I guess we should finish off how that goes about. There is somewhere in here, there is the configuration for, oh come on, packet, oh come on, Nginx, misc. I can't remember whether it is. There should be a configuration for the etc init.d thingy. What's the replacement one? The one that everyone hates. Is it in misc? No. No. Well, isn't that annoying? All right, let's run what setup common does. I mean, it'll be in here somewhere. Syslog update. There's a copy somewhere that actually just copies the relevant things. Compiler dash explorer dot. There definitely should be a file called compiler explorer, because that's what you know, sudo service. There it is in init. There it is. I can't believe I didn't see it. Okay, here we are. So this is the actual service file. This gets installed. This explains to how to run the compiler explorer as a service, and it has all these scripts and whatever. And somewhere in here, the start script. There we go. Init shared.sh, which does what? C all containers unified beta. I guess we should put unified staging in here. This is a list of containers that will be killed if we want to stop the process quickly. So I'm glad we went through this path here. It's a bit mucky. And then we do env equals go and get the user data again, and then we exec run site with that user data. So that's how the user data, that's the word beta or the empty string if it's prod, gets into run site. Okay. I think that clears us on the launch configuration side of things. Let's go back. Launch. Beta staging. Cool. All right. So now we can pop the stack one more time. Let's go back to all of our configuration in Terraform. And somewhere in the auto scaling group, we now have a launch configuration that makes sense. Everything else seems to make sense in here as well. And then we need a target group of staging. So let's go and make a target group. Now I think that's in alb.tf I put that. So let's have a look at target group. No. Somewhere I'm defining these target groups. Search the rescue. TG. Oh, I actually had a separate thing for this. Splendid. Okay, so we're going to make a target group. Now, a target group, if you remember, is a collection of machines that are the potential endpoint for a load-balanced connection. So we're going to make one called staging. It only needs to run on port 80 because CloudFront has already done all of the port 443 stuff. Yes. Yeah, there are definitely ways of improving this, and I think Carol has said that he'll file some issues and help with this. But yeah, this is pretty much repetition here. This is copy and paste. But anyway, so a target group is a bunch of machines that are potential endpoints for the load balancer. We need to say what port they're listening on, what protocol we can talk to them on. And we have delays about how they join and leave the target group. And there's health check, which allows the target group system to determine whether or not a node is actually okay to receive traffic. And so I'm just copy pasting from all the other places here. We're going to use a setting which looks more similar to prod actually than beta. because we want to look like a real production machine. And this again would be something where I could extract that as a local variable, presumably in some clever way, and just plonk that in and have those two things share the same setup here, because all we're doing is creating another resource. Okay, so that gives us that, and now in our launch, not in our launch, in the auto scaling group, everything is happy. We've got green everywhere, hooray, or rather no red. But no traffic will be routed to that. So we need to go and make a listener rule. So HTTP beta, so listener rule beta. So let's make a new rule. And that rule, and I think I have one for HTTP and one for HTTPS, unfortunately. So this is going to be priority 2. This is going to be, well, I think it doesn't really matter which order these are in, because, hooray, there we go. ALB listen, this is the yes. So this is attaching this listener to the HTTP, and it needs to be called something different, of course. So HTTP staging. Priority 2, forward to staging's ARN. Okay, now we should have an HTTPS beta, and we're going to copy paste this one. And we're going to make it priority 2, HTTPS staging. This is going to be staging, and then everything else on staging here as well. Yeah, again, this is ripe for procedural generation, you would think, but I'm leaving it alone right now. Excellent. Okay. So that, I think, completes most of the work. I think. Let's go and see where we are. There is definitely a change we need to make in Compiler Explorer itself, which we'll get to in a second. So I'm going to go into Terraform, and I'm going to go Terraform verify. Let's just make sure I haven't typed anything too dreadful. That's not the right word. What do I mean? Terraform validate. Thank you. It didn't complain, which was nice. So why don't we do a plan? We're going to say, hey, what would happen if I were to actually try and execute this? Let's make this full screen. Save your eyes a little bit. Okay, so it would make all these changes. Let's have a look at, see what it would do. Right, everything so far is strictly additive, which is I like the look of. That means we're not going to break the live site, because obviously if I get this wrong and I make a mistake, I could actually take the live site down. So this is us creating a listener rule, a target group, an auto scaling group, and everything looks pretty good. Oh, the nice thing here, of course, is that you know how we changed the manually Base64 encoded string beta. We changed it to use the $Base64 encode version. If that had changed in any way, we would see that it was trying to modify the existing group, and it hasn't done that. So that means that we're on the right track with the Base64 encoding stuff, which was nice. And that all looks good. So we won't, I mean, I'm going to give it a go. What should happen here is if this does work out, then an instance will be created and it will start up and it will fail because there isn't actually a staging configuration for Compiler Explorer. But I'm prepared to give it a go and see what happens, because that's what this is all about. So I'm now just going to say, hey, that thing you planned, make it so, number one. I'll tell you, I'm dying for a cup of tea, but I don't know what the etiquette is for this kind of thing. In terms of me just disappearing off for a second and you watching my screen for me. Okay, still creating. It worries me slightly when Terraform takes a long time. It's usually not working. At least that's been my experience thus far. Thank you, Ouroboros. I need to work out how to control OBS Studio a bit better, because I could put up something saying "gone for a cup of tea," but right now I'm going to actually have to write a message, I think. Oh, I don't have to write a message. What I can do instead is, of course, just do this. Oh, well, I mean, that is true, but I was hoping this would now take longer. Right, we made 5 resources. Let's have a quick look on Amazon before I do actually go make a cup of tea, because I'm loath to leave something running. Let's see where we are. Target groups. Is it going to just work? It's magic. Oh, it's not got a name. That's rubbish. All right, well, there's a thing we need to fix immediately. What happened there? Target group. Target group. tg.tf. Target group. Prod port. Did I import? I bet you I imported these before and never gave them an actual name. That's terrible. Are they capitalized? They are. Name equals staging. And while we're here, we'll name these things as well, because what these chaps adopted whichever name they had when I first created them, because these were imported. I didn't actually create them using this now. Did I call it prod? No, it's called GCC Explorer Nodes. Well, I'm going to call it prod. I'm just going to call it prod. What the heck? All right, let's go and apply that. Let's make sure the plan works and it actually cares. Thank you, GGN. Okay, so that's definitely forces a new resource. It scares me a little bit, but I'm going to be brave. You know, I'm going to be brave and do this. It's the whole point of this. So some things that you can actually modify inside AWS, you can just go and change like parameters. But there are some things that are primary keys that need to be changed, and so the resource is actually destroyed and recreated. Now that does concern me, but I don't think I've hard-coded anything. This is the whole point. If everything is inside Terraform, then it doesn't matter. You can recreate and destroy nodes. But I'm going to bravely run the plan while I put the kettle on, and I'll be right back and we can pick up the pieces. So if you're interested, you can sit on Compiler Explorer and refresh the main page, because this, if it does go wrong, will actually break the site. Although not in a way, I really don't think it's going to. It looks good to me. But okay, back in 2 seconds. Oh, well, I'm going to keep an ear out for the kettle finishing, but that's sad. Target group blah is currently in use by a listener or a rule. Well, I know that. Terraform. Ordering issue, exactly, Carol. This is so irritating. This is one of those things where you think, surely the fact that I've just explained to you all of the dependencies between my various pieces of information, gosh, listen to me, various parts of my infrastructure, that it should be incumbent on Terraform to do like a directed, build a DAG and work out which order things need to be done in. But I don't know the right solution to this at all. So I'm going to have to Google it and or hope that one of you, maybe Carol, you can say that something depends on an issue to mitigate areas like this. Yeah, it just seems dumb that I have to do it. So I think you're probably right. So let me just have a look. Target group. So we're going to do Terraform target group. And then how are we going to do this? We're going to say resource in use. That's probably a good keyword, right? Resource in use. Error deleting. Cannot rename. Haha. Issue 1315. Closed. Cannot. This is basically what we're seeing, right? I think. It's exactly what we're just doing. Expected behavior. Blah blah blah. Using a lifecycle called create before destroy is a way around this. Okay, well we'll do that. I've put that in other places, but I'll be honest with you, there's a certain amount of just magical copy pasting in. So actually, which thing do I need to put this create before? This is in the target group service. Okay, so in the target group. This is the target groups. All right, we're going to bung this stanza in. Whoops. Oh, the kettle's nearly boiled. It's worth investing in a decent kettle. Auto format. Fix my dreadfulness. There we are. One there. One there. One there. So I don't think it's an ordering thing as much as that it needs to destroy and recreate something, and it can't destroy it until the until everything that's using it has been moved over. So this means it's going to create two of them essentially for a bit, then make the change and then delete the old one, which obviously if it was an expensive resource then you wouldn't necessarily want it to do that. Kettle is boiled. I shall be back. I don't know why I keep putting my headphones on. I can't hear anything in them. Alright. I think I need to put the headphones on because it makes me feel like I'm working. Headphones on equals working, whereas right now I'm like, oh. Drum roll. Hey, that worked. That's nice. Alright. Let's just make sure. I mean, I do get alerts about this stuff, kind of stuff, but... Oh, phew, that took... Oh. Well, I guess we're going to do some live debug the site stuff. Well, shucks. Not my first choice of word, but I'm being on my best behavior. Alright, the very first thing I'm going to do is on the other window that you can't see is bring up TweetDeck and tweet that obviously we've just broken the site. So you saw it here first. Oh dear. Tweet from me investigating site compilation issues due to misconfiguration. Sorry. Tweet. Alright. This is where I'm going to immediately go to the home node, wherever the heck it is. Here we are. Okay, I'm going to do ce-env prod motd issues. We are aware of the issue and are fixing ASAP. Oh, what is this? env prod. What is it? Set update. Oh, blast. Env prod motd update in prod. This is the are you sure thing. Okay, cool. So now people will hit the site and they will see that at the top. Hopefully, let me just test that theory. Reload. Yes. Okay. Now we have to work out what the heck's going on. Oh. Well, it's working now. Oh, crikey. Everything looks fine right now. I wonder if that was just a blip in the fact that we destroyed the target group and recreated a new target group. It looks like... yeah, it looks like it's now working. So, Panic, I think, over, but we'll keep an eye on it for a second. Okay, well, I'll come up to... More importantly, even than that, well, secondarily importance, let's just hit this a few times, make sure we are actually getting it every time. Yeah. So this is the refresh button down here. This definitely bypasses all the caches and make sure it runs several times. Okay. Yeah, now that we know the site is working, I'm going to get my tea, and then everything will be much better for me. Slightly overfilled this. Right. So everything still seems okay. Let's go and minimize my AFK thing, and I think we can safely go clear the message of the day now. I think it's working now. So panic over. I will just quickly reply on that thing and say, all seems well now. Sorry for the momentary blip. Well, I won't go into details as to what happened to the public at large, but you and I know what happened. And it's all because we renamed something. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that silly? Yes. Okay. Yes, you did arrive at exactly the most important time, the cup of tea that drives us all. So it's about this time of day I usually, well, I've had my requisite coffee, and now I can move to tea. It's more sippable. Sippable? That's a word. 'Tis now. Splendid. So let's go and look at the results of all that configuration. So let me refresh this. I should stop saying so. Haha, beta, prod, and staging. Isn't that glorious? And so worth bringing the site down for 30 seconds to rename GCC Explorer nodes to prod, right? Right. So for those just joined or are asking questions now, the staging group is just going to be a way of me separating beta, which will be genuine, like pie in the sky, totally new way of doing things, kind of beta testing, from staging, which is where we bring things up just to test that we're about to deploy something that actually works. We have tests, of course, but tests are never as good as actually just running the thing and seeing if it works. And our test coverage could get a lot better. I'm well aware of that. So this staging group now, do we have an instance in there? Do we have an instance called staging? That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Come on. We do. How lovely, how quaint. We have a staging instance, and that staging instance is going to be running, but probably not running the right thing. We're going to have to actually do some compiler explorer work to get that working. But let's have a look over here. Oh, interestingly, yes. So the tool that I use here, this --n stuff. So this knows about beta, this knows about prod. It does not know about staging. Although I don't know if it's going to do anything. Let's do instances and see if somehow miraculously, yeah. Choose from prod, beta. So we're going to, oh, excuse me. Oh, and again, we're going to have to fix that. So that is also in the same project, I'm delighted to say. So it's over here in bin, lib, instance.py maybe? Okay. This is one of the reasons why I usually try and fit things to 80 or maybe 100 columns. Let's close all in group. Wunderbar. Let us find the word. What are we looking for? Beta in here. No, maybe not. All right, let's just find the command. It's called c.py. And I bet you it's all dumped in here. Yeah, proper naming is best. I agree. It's too many things have got the wrong. Oh, there we are. That was easy. Staging. Default equals beta. I'm actually going to change the default to staging. Auto format. Thank you, auto format. I'm also a big fan of never actually bothering to line things up or word wrap myself if the IDE can do it for me. One of the greatest things that's happened of recent times is everyone moving towards Clang format. And while Clang format doesn't always get things right, so talking about C++ for a moment here, how rare. While Clang format doesn't get everything right all the time, and sometimes you really want to say, no, I'd like to break my line here, I'd like to break my line here, I'd much prefer just everyone agreeing on a consistent Clang format setting and sticking with it. So I pretty much use the IDE. That's one of the reasons why with Carol I was saying I need my IDE to do it, because I just press this button all the time to reformat the whole file. Okay, so that alone is not going to be enough, I think, because, well, I'll tell you what we can do. We can run this locally. Where is my shell? So, like I've been saying in other videos, I tend to only use tmux on the remote machine, which gives me this nice, obvious, visible indicator that I'm looking at the compiler explorer node here. It's called admin node. Whereas over here, these machines here are what? They are, this is my local machine. So I should be able to do CE instances. Let's just run that. Aha, Python environment's out of date. Haha, cool. And I need to go and do that. So let's go to Compiler Explorer Image, make CE. So this is just updating the dependencies of my local machine to make sure this Python package has everything it needs installed. It lives in its own little hermetic environment, which is what the makefile is generating here. And there's a little shell script that runs in place of all of the actual binaries and just says, hey, make sure I'm up to date first. And if I am up to date, then Groovy, run the right version of Python with the right settings. And if not, then print out that error message. And it doesn't do it automatically for reasons of this. Cool. So let's run CE again. Instances. Status. Oh, I didn't mean to shout. I'm sorry. I can't believe my caps lock key is still a caps lock key. I keep changing it, but Ubuntu keeps on reconfiguring it to something else. I like to use it as a very weird thing. Okay, so there we go. We were able to see that there is one... instance. Did that just work? Surely not. Surely not. I057. IEOEF. No, good. It did not work. Let's just... I would have been very surprised because I wasn't expecting it to. And, you know, there's nothing more sinister than having something work and not really understand why. So I'm going to go over to this Amazon subset here, and somewhere in here we're going to find prod or beta, and there's going to be some way... Yeah, there we go. Well, well, well. Look what we broke. Isn't that horrific? There is a hard-coded thing in here to find the ARN of the target group, which we just changed. Ugh. So I actually broke the tool. This is kind of important, right? For now, I'm not going to try and solve the problem that there is this hard-coded group, but instead, I'm going to fix it like that. Yeesh. Or am I? You know, like target group ARN4. We should fix this the right way, shouldn't we? Yes, you're right. So what we need to do then is enumerate all of the target groups and find the one that matches. Now it looks like, unfortunately, the env here is in lowercase, but we can fix that. We can use a case-insensitive comparison, which I'm kind of cool with. So let's fix this once and for all, because that's pretty dreadful as it is, and then it will actually just work for any new target group we decide to add. I reserve the right to change my mind on this if it turns out to be a giant amount of work. So who uses target group ARN4? Nobody. Okay. To the internet, and we use something called Boto. Boto enumerate target groups, or enumerate target groups. Okay, to list protocols, find blah example. ELB referenced sounds about right. ELB target group. We're going to have a look at him or her, and we're going to look at this. Okay, so this is part of Ansible apparently. That doesn't bode well. There's a lot of comment. All right, I will kindly come back to that if it's a big problem. So describe listeners. Do we have describe targets? Describe target groups. Hallelujah. Okay, back. So we need an ELB v2. Do we have that? We do have an ELB client. Lovely. ELB client. Do we use it anywhere? Apparently not. Well, we're about to. So we're going to use that client dot describe target groups. All targets are alternatively the ARN and load balance and the names of one or more target groups. Well, let's use name. That seems like the right thing to do, right? So we're going to do ELB.describe. Oh, of course it doesn't know this. Describe target groups, and then we need to give it this big old structure-y thing here. And we don't give it the load balancer ARN. Do we need to give it that? Does it say it's required? I guess we're about to find out. I'm a big fan of just bang it until it works for this kind of stuff. So names equals blah. Names equals... Oh, darn you, Python. I've been using too much JavaScript recently. And this is an array of strings. Cool. How is that even working? Oh, I see. No. It's actually taking a Python parameter list thingamajig. All right. In fact, I'm going to do a bit of exploration here. Let's run a Python console. Because we can. We're going to import the needful things here. Boinksy. And ELB client. Boinks. Come on. I can't believe that just worked. Sure. Let's grab that, paste it in down here, and then, okay, we need to capitalization. Oh, it just worked. It just worked. And if I say prod with a lowercase, it's going to not work, is it? Target group not found. And then presumably this is an array of all the ones that match that, because that's typically how these things work. So let's all right, let's assign that to a variable. Whoops. A equals that. Why? And we can go and explore it over here in the magic thingamajig. Length equals 2. Intriguing. Target groups, only 1. Okay, length 2 is presumably the response metadata and the targets group thing. Oh, Carol. Yes, I need to go, but thank you very much for hanging around. That's great. Lovely. Thank you, Carol. Yes, anything with the nodes having access to the internet thing, that would be great. I'm trying to lock them down as much as possible, and you know, it's good hygiene to have them only be able to access certain parts of the interwebs. Okay, so target groups 0, and then we get target group ARN, and there it is. Wonderful. So let's say expected name equals args env dot, is it camel case? I forget. Oh, again, this is why we have a REPL. It's nice, isn't it? So we're going to say prod a dot camel. There's some. What do we got in here? No, not capitalize. I mean, capitalize is kind of it, but I want to find case fold. One of these is the one that tells me to make it like title case. There it is. Dot title. C Python title. And then names equals expected name here. And in fact, I'm just going to inline that. That's what we need to do. And I don't know why you've put extra parentheses in there. You're being annoying. Excellent. And so this is result equals that. And then we're going to say if result, and what was our result down here? Oh, of course I reused A. That's just me being very, very lazy. Yes, Python completion in the console is awesome. I mean, it works if you use IPython as well from the shell. That works pretty well too. It's just that I also am lazy, so I'm using the one that's built into the IDE. So we've got something called target groups. So if length of the target groups is not equal to 1, we're going to raise a runtime error of unable or invalid environment, and then we're going to say whatever the heck that is. It's args env, and I need to go and make this one of those magical things. Hopefully that'll never happen, but you know it will. Oh, why are you so bad? There you go. Otherwise, we can return result dash target groups. It would be lovely if I could type, wouldn't it? Groups naught target group ARN. Target group ARN. Just to make sure that I've got that bit right, we're gonna. Wonderful, wonderful. Now the thing that occurs to me is that I wonder how often this target group ARN thing is being called in the rest of the code base. Nothing to show. Yes, it's not called in Terraform. Let's go and find it in project. Hello, project. Hello, Bolly Barrett. Sorry, my computer is having a moment. Oh, come on. Alright, it is actually just the ID that's having a bit of a moment. There we go. Okay, we've got it back. Target group ID for in project. And it's all in C.py, and instances equals pick instance. Yeah, you know what? I think that's fine. I was worrying about memoizing it. Now there's a neat trick in Python to memoize any function, but I can't be naff to get it working right now. Let's just see. Let's do C instances status running in staging. First of all, it hasn't gone immediately wrong. Now the specified key does not exist. Okay. So now we're looking at a different instance. We're looking at the I057CDB instance, which let us just check because it's easy to do. Is hopefully staging targets instance ID 0 CDB. Yeah, that's right. CDB, not actually Christabella. That's what I think of when I see CDB. That's awesome. That's fantastico. But then what's happening is now the status command itself is complaining with no such key. The specified key does not exist. So now we have to stroke our beards and go, why is that? It's the version. Ah, yes. Because now it's trying to work out what version that node is running. And the answer is it's not running any version at all because we haven't set the version. Okay. But before we go too much further, I'm going to check in this change, just the bin change, the Amazon change for the target RN, because this is needed in order to actually have it work on the remote machine. So this is now request target group ARNs, or rather query, instead of hard code. So we've made the world a better place, which is just a nice feeling. Make test. Should have done it beforehand. Nothing should have actually fixed those. Git push. Okay, so we made one change. None of those Terraform changes are up and running yet. We're going to come back over to the home machine and do a git pull on that machine. Wonderful. Make C, make sure everything's fine. Okay, C instances status. Let's just make sure we can actually see both. So staging is broken, but that's fine because we do --env beta. There's our beta node. And then if we do --env prod, that wouldn't have worked before, right? Because the hard-coded number changed, and now we're just doing it the right way. This takes longer because it's querying all the machines. Wonderbar, we've got 4 of them? What are you doing? Stop compiling. It's all fine. It's all fine. Excellent. Okay, that makes me feel better. So let's do this. So let's do C set current. So it defaults to staging 4053. This will now set that magical flag. C builds. And we're doing it in staging. I'm going to have to learn a whole new bunch of muscle memory. Now, if we run our CE instances status, thank you, fish. Fish is the shell. The specified key does not exist still. Intriguing. Intriguing? I thought that the set current would have set that in env staging. So let's go and show you how that stuff works. If we go back to AWS, this is now in S3. So S3 is like the big FTP server of Amazon. It's not a traditional file system that you can access, unlike some of the other ones, like EFS. And you can see all my crazy things. Oh, dear me. Where is the thing? Compiler Explorer. That's the one we care about right now. We're going to go look in that directory. And this is where everything lives. This is those authorized keys. That's allowed the set of keys that allow people to log into the nodes, which is just me and a couple of other people. CloudFront logs go into these places here. Dist, yes. But version. There we go. Beta, master, release. So what has happened here is I was expecting to see a staging version in here, and instead I've got beta and master. What is master when it's at home? Apparently created on May the 8th this year. Maybe that is... let's go and have a look at the code again. Amazon. So we want to look at... no, it'll be in the CE code. So we look at instances... builds. The builds current command. Set current command. Okay. So version. Set current key args to set. Set current key. What does that do? Set current key. Version key for n. Version slash. See, you'd think branch for env. Ah. Env equals prod release. Oh, you see, isn't that terrible? I'm worried by that. That's just daftness in the extreme. This used to be literally the branch name, you see. Back in the day, we actually just used the branch. But now the environment has its own like tag. What to do about that? It would be dangerous to change prod to not be release. So I think I'm going to just have a special case for that and just otherwise return args env, which is pretty gross, but we'll go with it. Okay, that means that everything's out of whack again. So let us just remind ourselves how an env prod ends up with release. So going back to the beginning, we've got this run site. Run site has branch equals something along here. Where is it? Where does it get the version from? Branch. Okay, branch then comes from site prod release. You see, that's gross, isn't it? That is actually pretty gross. I am very tempted to not... I'm going to leave this alone. I'm going to leave this alone for now because we're getting too deep down a rabbit hole, And there are some benefits to having it not just use the environment name directly. And that's because like I can run things locally with a beta/local, and it still runs from beta. It doesn't pick up the environment name of beta/local. So I'm gonna let that go for now. Oh, Andrew, you just found the C plugin for CLion, the Compiler Explorer plugin for CLion. That's a pretty cool thing. And be aware it pre-processes your code and posts the whole thing up to either a local instance, which is the default. But if it is if you've configured it to use the main site, then it will be posting all of your code up to me, which, you know, obviously we have privacy policies. People don't. There's a very restricted set of people that can look at this kind of stuff. And we don't store it, we don't keep it for a long, haven't read the privacy policy for more information, but just be aware of it. I'd hate for you to think that something cunning was happening. Right. Is that not being used? Oh, that's all right. But again, okay. So anyway, we've made that change now, which means that's not going to be on the remote machine. So I'm going to come back to my local machine and do C builds. Meow, says the cat. Builds, set current 4053. Was it 4053? 4053, yes. So I'm now running the version staging master. So confusingly, that branch there is the branch that the built Compiler Explorer tarball was built from. This is so we don't accidentally deploy like a test branch to the production environment. So if I were to refresh this now, hopefully we'll see a staging. Yay, we see staging there. Excellent. And if we do that, does this now work? If so, there's a real disparity. No, it's still having trouble knowing which version to do. Yes. Yeah, people ask whether or not I have a look at the code that gets sent up, and the answer is no. I don't keep any stats on it or anything. I've got plenty enough on my plate without looking at other people's code. I have enough problems with my own. Obviously, there are sensitive pieces of code, and people should be circumspect about it. Your employer may not like you sending snippets of the code anywhere on the internet, so be aware of that. But we certainly don't care. And it's part of the reason why I've tried to make Compiler Explorer as easy as possible to run locally, even though, you know, it's very convenient to be able to just point at an external website. But if you need to run it locally on your own code, it should just be a question of typing make and then fiddling around with some configuration if you want to use a particular compiler. Excuse me. Okay, so let's try C instances status here and see if that has worked. Okay, we're an hour and a half into this. Still no such key. I wonder what key it is trying to get. It says key version/staging. I'm seeing version/staging here. What all is going on? Compiler Explorer version staging. I can see it. Why can't you? Specified key does not exist. It's very, very unhelpful. I'm not misreading something in that, am I? Doesn't look it. So, am I looking in the right bucket? I presume that I'm looking in the right bucket. Because why else would I be looking anywhere? Okay, let's look at the piece of code that actually executes when we run that command. So we are looking at status. Oh, let's go to CE status. Oh, thank you for remembering status. Add parser status, instances status. And I think I've got some status command, print instances, blah, blah, blah. Okay. ELB instances looks like the one. And target health descriptions. Oh, what's that all about? The running version. So there's a magical file that tells it which exact S3 key it reads things from. So that will be wrong. But that still doesn't explain what's being printed down here. Target health state, target health descriptions shows. So it's logging in, it's running, it thinks. Service failed, which is understandable because we didn't have the right key at the time. The version is just, that's the tough one. Oh, this is an error, I think. This error was actually captured, I think, on the machine itself. So it's catting that file. And the file is the result of running on the machine when it started up, what version should I run? And of course, it didn't exist then. So let us do instances login. Now at the moment I can still do this from my local machine if we make things go wrong. Yes, no, you're right, Pantyful. You're ahead of me. So let's go and have a look. ls/compiler explorer image.s .deploy S3 key, cat that, and lo and behold, that's the key that it got. Wah, 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 wah. Okay, let us sudo make me a sandwich. So we're going to sudo service compiler explorer restart. What do you say? I thought that's how this worked. Is that not what it says? Oh, systemctl. Oh, don't make me type systemctl controls. Oh, is that? Well, isn't that stupid? I misspelt the word restart, and so service told me that the compiler explorer service didn't exist. What a load of rubbish. Let's cat that file now. Hallelujah. Right, we've still got. Yes, thank you for unfortunately, there's enough latency between what you're saying and me broadcasting because I want to get the quality level as high as possible so that you can actually read my tiny font. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience. It's like frustrating. You're like, you can see that I've made the mistake and you're trying to tell me and I'm slow in responding. Okay, so we're now running the right version here, which means that there's a decent chance that I can do sudo service, or what is it up here? Journal.ctl show. No, let's log off the machine and do it the proper way. No, less haste, more speed. Status. Drum roll again. Okay, so it's now running. Yay. It's the right instance size. It is unhealthy in the elastic load balancer, which should now really say ALB, but ELB, ALB, whatever. The service is running and it's version 4053. So let us log back in again and I can show you a little bit about what's happening and we can go and actually see, hopefully, things starting up. So we do docker ps-a, we can see that the compiler explorer unified. And it's called unified. See, that's the annoying thing there. That we're going to have to start this. We're actually going to have to do a compiler explorer release itself to pick up the dash staging. Oh, thank you for the quotes on the quality. I fiddled around with the settings for ages, and I've picked the highest quality settings in YouTube, but unfortunately that means that the delay is a while, or at least it led me to believe the delay would be longer if I picked the high quality settings. So it's still called unified there, but that's because this version, this 4053 version tarball doesn't have any information about. Well, we have no. It's nothing to do with the version 4053. It's because we haven't pushed our changes to GitHub, where things will be. What do I mean? Let me log out and collect my thoughts. So at least some of the things, this site staging, that's the thing that we need to change. So I'm happy enough with everything that's here to just have a quick read through site staging. We changed this because there used to be something called staging, which apparently wasn't being used, and we needed it to run on port 80, which it will be running on port 7000 right now, which is why the ELB will be failing. It's going to have env staging. Staging is really not going to change anything, but we'll come back to that in a minute. The --env just allows different configuration options inside Compiler Explorer itself to take effect, but we don't have, I don't think, any staging related changes. We've got a container suffix, which is the thing I'm looking for, so I can make sure that things are okay with regards to the output inside my log system. We changed to Amazon.py, and what are we doing here? We fiddle around the branch. Perfect. Still not really happy about that. This, we just said, oh, unified staging is also a thing. We need that if we've changed site staging. And then all of these things are the changes that we've been making /staging. There's going to be one more thing, because we have to teach Compiler Explorer itself that if it's in env staging, that it should expect everything to be at a subdirectory /staging. That's the one remaining thing, but that's not in this project. So I think all of that is good. Okay, git commit -am, I guess I've already done the add. And this is add a staging environment. Wonderful. Okay. So I'm going to do C instances. Well, actually, I can go now onto the real box, do a git pull. Wonderful. Now we've got all of that new, good, sweet stuff. And I'm going to actually do a, what am I going to say? Hard time using meld. Yeah, I like meld. It's just what I'm used to, though. Like anything, it's just what you're used to. I'm going to do CE instances restart, and this is in staging. Well, that's sad, isn't it? The JSON object must be str bytes or not none type. Well, none type sounds bad. I don't know that setup.sh needs to change, Pantuful. If you want to let me know what you think, I mean, I will definitely go and have a look at it in a second, but I'm going to try and work out what this problem is first. But to kind of pre-fetch the response, we'll see. JSON.loads get events file. Get events? What is that? I don't remember a get events, but we're going to go and find out what get events is. Get events file. Events file 4. Oh, the message of the day for that particular environment. Well, we need to set one. C instance, C motd show, and it's going to have the same error. Yeah, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do --env motd show, or env prod. What if I just do motd clear? Yeah, it doesn't like it. I think I'm going to have to do a hack to get it to work the first time. Okay, thank you, Pantuful. I'll still take a look. I think, you know, there's still a very reasonable chance that there's something that I've missed, but okay, ads list. That's going to be probably it. Now, I think there is a way of me just dumping the JSON that runs the little ads at the top, which I hope aren't too annoying. They're not really ads, are they? I mean, certainly they're not commercial. I don't profit from them. No, neither does anyone else. I'd like to just. It's the one place I can opine about things I think are important to C++ programmers. -env prod ads list. Yep. Okay. Now I think I can do --raw or something like that. There's definitely a way of getting this. Ads --help. Or is there an MOTD? There's definitely some way of doing this. Because, oh, is it events? From raw. Ha ha ha, yes. To raw. There we go. I'm going to pipe that through CE-env staging events from raw. So we're just going to basically copy them wholesale. So now we should be able to do CE ads list, and we should get the same ad. Hooray! All right, okay. So I think we've bootstrapped that bit. So let's do C instances restart, and it's going to ask me, are you sure? It's using staging, which is going to be a whole difficult thing to get used to typing all the time. And it seems to be working now. All right, so everything's checked in now. Let's go over to Compiler Explorer. Now, of course, I have some changes in Compiler Explorer, which I either need to commit to or I need to stash. So let's go and take a look at those. And I don't know why I'm doing that. Come on, get the shell up. So Compiler Explorer, git status. What have I got here? Okay, some changes. What have gone on in here? First of all, what the heck did I change in package.json? All right. See, that needs more testing. I can't just push that in as it is right now. Partially staged. I am going to do git add dot git stash save whip on FireJL. All right. Cool. Make sure we've got all the latest and greatest here. Wonderful. How are you doing over that? It's going to wait for an instance to be online. You're going to be waiting a long time. It's never going to actually come online. Oh. What on earth is that? Oh, this is my local instance running. Okay. Because I'm making changes in Compiler Explorer. Splendid. Okay, Compiler Explorer, and we're going to do git grep beta. There it is. So beta.properties, and that looks like the things we need to change for a start. So we have got a couple of things we need to do to make this work well. First of all, in the awful configuration system, we're going to go and find that compiler explorer.beta.properties, and we're going to copy paste it and call it .staging.properties. Staging.properties. Yes. Extra body class equals staging. HTTP root equals staging. That is the real change there. That's the thing that's really important. URL, I don't want to override that. I don't want to override that. But this thing does need to be the message of the day, staging.json. Lovely. Okay, so that's like the majority of the changes that are important to make. So let's just go and find the word beta again some more. What the heck is that? Oh yeah, this is why we don't do it in project, we do it in directory, because this is picking up the whole world's not static, we want in actually just in the project. What's going on? If extra class equals beta, oh ball blast. Sorry. It's you have no idea how difficult it is for me not to swear all the time, as it is kind of my usual way. Anyone who's ever sat near me at work will testify. So somewhere in the index.html or index.pug, so pug is a templating library, we've got this head, we've got navbar, if equals beta there. Okay, so this is the special thing. If extra body class equals dev. Oh, that's interesting. What is that? Do I have a site logo dev.ping? This is a good question. Let's go and find out. So, hang on. Oh, I've lost myself. Site logo dev.ping. I didn't realize I already had that. Site logo dev. There it is. I mean, you can see the limit of my talent here. I think we're going to need to make one that says staging, because otherwise I will go. It will annoy me that. Yeah, site logo beta.svg, and it's weird that it's a ping. It says how inconsistent I am. All right, well, let's copy paste site logo beta as site logo staging, and you can observe my amazing skill with whatever I created this with. Hang on, let's have a look. Adobe Illustrator, apparently. That seems unlikely. I don't have that, but I'm imagining I started with the original logo, and that original logo was done by somebody who has got Adobe Illustrator. So let's load up Inkscape, which is my poor man's editor for this type of thing. Although, if this is done as actual text in here, blast. See, wouldn't it be nice if that was those two things there were just the text, font style normal, area label equals that. See, but there's all this stuff in there which is clearly drawing a picture. Otherwise, you know, it would be nice to just, I don't know, rename this, and then it would just be the different, whatever it is. So let's open it up in Inkscape, and this is going to be home, Matthew, where on earth dev. Oh, so many things. Compiler Explorer, node modules, no, where is this? Static, assets, site logo, staging. I mean, I could make a ping if it came to it, couldn't I? But let's see how I get on. Hooray. Beta. Is that it? It is, apparently. Okay, let's make with the text. Text and font. How do I create text with this? There it is. Staging. Sure. I need this to be bold, don't I? This is literally the worst text box I've ever seen. This doesn't allow me to modify, does it? No. No, because you don't think it's text, annoyingly. But that apparently it does. Okay, so alright, variants, no, nothing to do with those. Good grief. Can I resize this? Yes. Can I resize this? Apparently not. No, I'm stuck with a text box the size of an ant's lung. And alright, well, you know, the amount of sleep I'm going to lose over this being pretty crappy is none. Excuse me. So let's just get that at roughly the right angle. And then we can... So we can kill off that. I'm going to pick this up here. Just leave room for the world's worst drop shadow. I should have scaled it first, shouldn't I? Because now it's on the wonk. I don't think it matters. I really don't think it matters. Except it's annoying me. So it matters. Darn it. 40. No, come on. Oh, get out. You are rubbish. Let's create a new one. There's got to be a way of editing it after post hoc, right? Or is this literally the thing that you use to change just the text box there? Staging. That's dreadful. Yeah, but it'll say beta if I duplicate it. That's the thing. That's the thing that's annoying me. If it says beta, I will be confused. So I am going to do what I was doing before, and we'll get on with our lives. Maybe that allows me. Does this allow me to resize the thing? This one here? Is that a nice resize? No. Do I have to select this to change the font size? Get out. I used to use... apply. Hurrah. That'll do. That's near enough. Alright, you go away. You duplicate and put you down there. Then we're going to make one of these color. Where the heck's the color thing? It would be so good if I could remember how to use this, wouldn't it? Object, fill and stroke. Sounds like a good night out. Oh, what color? Sure, pink. I'm down with pink. It's not unthreatening, pinkish. Cool. It's puce. And now we want to do this one. Object to front. Where is that thing? Raise to top. Hurrah. Okay. Have a little bit of a fiddling there. Ah, how beautiful. Group. And then... Oh, duplicate the stage. Yes, yes, Arubros. Yes, yes. Yeah, thank you. We're on the same page then. And we're going to move you around like that and fit you in there. That will clash beautifully, won't it? All right. File, save. Now let's just see how dreadful that's going to look. Yeah, not that. Let's tidy up some of these things here. And that, and that, and that, and that. Oh, I didn't mean to close S3, darn it. I'm going to close that one. Beta. Right, we're going to run this locally again. And I'm going to hack my local file to say, hey, you're the staging. I guess I should finish the thought that I had over here first of all. Let's get rid of him, and her, and you. And then this chap needs to be... Let's put staging. Staging. I can't type. Staging.svg because we made it very careful. Dev overlay, yes. I wonder if we need this dot align top as well. I'm guessing we do. Oh, this is beta overlay dot align top. I'm going to also call this beta overlay just because, and then we'll come back to that. Why do you need to know about beta overlay? What the heck does the CSS magic mean? Come on. Okay, you're in the CSS file somewhere. Explorer.css. Let's go and see what I'm condemning myself to now. Replying to someone and say, hey, sorry, I haven't been able to look at your live coding stuff. And it's like, actually, I'm doing it right now. So, can join me now. Yes. Okay, so this, somewhere in here, we're hoping is beta overlay. Display, none. Dev overlay. So those are the same. I don't know why they have to have different tags there. So I'm going to leave it as beta overlay for now, which is not the right name. And we'll just go with what it looks like, and then if I can convince myself that the dev thing looks good, then we should be good to go. So right, I need to go to that file that I was changing in the configuration, etc. config compiler staging.properties, and I'm going to do copy paste. And I'm going to make this local.properties. Anything that's local.properties, you'll notice will go yellow in the IDE because it's in the git ignore. Extra body class we want to keep. HTTP root we don't want to keep. MOTD URL shouldn't actually matter. So there's me, and then let's put you over there. And do make dev. And we're just going to run it with C++ because time and... Now npm's doing its thing because npm, we changed the package.json. If you remember, that was one of those things I deliberately reverted because I'm like, I need to test this more. Although it does seem to be working fine. All right, I need to put the light on because it's getting dark. Because, you know, spring in Chicago. There we are. Oh. And I will take this moment. Where's my little AFK thingy? Oh, did I close it? I think I closed it. Oh no. So hard to reproduce. Oh no, there it is. Let's put that over that side. Oh, I didn't give it quite long enough. It is 11:54. My wife has just gone out, which gives me a bit more time before she's been remarkably good at letting me do this kind of thing without being too sarcastic about crazy man talking to himself in a room. And let me just go back over to YouTube's. All right. AFK making a cup of tea. Euphemistically making a cup of tea. I'm going to go to the bathroom or the loo, and we'll come back and see how beautiful this looks or not. So back in a sec. Okay. Yes. Slight lies. Not making a cup of tea. Alright, let's refresh the page. See how insipid this looks. I'm expecting it to look pretty dreadful. Well, it didn't work at all, so that obviously wasn't a good start. Okay, YouTube is complaining about not receiving enough data now, so hopefully... oh, bye for now, Shady. Hopefully you are actually hearing and seeing what I'm doing here, but we'll go with that. So that didn't work. Why did that not work? Let me just reload the page with extreme prejudice. In case it's that. No, it was not that. So let us inspect and see what we ended up here. Class equals staging. So we did get staging. Site logo inverse, align top, beta overlay. I think that needs an align top. I think that's the problem here. You know, we kind of glossed over it. So let's go back to index.pug, beta.overlay.align top, chug, 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 chug. I don't know about that. Go on, go on, go on. No, that's the sadness, isn't it? 8, 9, no, what is that? And then this intrinsic, that. Image class equals that. Why you no work? Why you no work? I don't understand why that is not working. We have literally copy-pasted that. I'm going to just change this to be beta and observe that it works perfectly fine. Then it's going to be down to some strange thing in the SVG, isn't it? Say what? Did I break that? I don't understand. All right. To the real beta site and see what the heck's going on there. That's working. It's pretty dreadful looking, but it works. Inspect. All looks good there. Beta overlay align top. Beta overlay align top. Assets that. Assets that. I'm confused. That is deeply unexciting to me. Display display none? No, that's fine. Okay. Why you know work? It's definitely 1655. it's not actually appearing on the screen, interestingly. When I mouse over this, can you see it's... I'm pointing at the screen, you can't see. Do you have any other references to the image? That is a good point. I will have a look in a second. Align top. And here align top. Absolute 0 block. And here. Yeah, so there's a difference. Dot B. Ah, yes, I do. So there's a magical thing that goes on with the dot beta as well. Right, thank you for bearing with me while I did that. So this class equals extra body class at the top here, that also makes other magical things happen, apparently. So let's go and see. Land of primitive and bad design. Navbar brand, image dot display none. Dot beta, I see. That's how this is working. I had not registered. That's why we have separate ones here. So I'm going to pony up and actually just make another bloody one. Sorry, excuse my French. So it's going to be staging, overlay, underlay, display none by default. Otherwise, staging overlay. If we're in dot staging, that's how we're making it appear and disappear, which seems unnecessary. Now we have the if statements in there. This didn't used to be there at all, you see. They used to all be there and then they would be turned on or off. So I think, actually, we can just do... We can get rid of all of these. Yes, right. Better idea. Get rid of that. Under all circumstances, if we have a logo overlay, one too many, then it looks like that. And then all of these will be align top, and not beta overlay, but logo overlay. Logo. So we're not using CSS to hide these things anymore. We're just going to use the templating engine to add or remove them. Now I'm not going to add .align top to this dev because it didn't have it before. I'm so confident that I'm going to put site logo staging in. And we're going to roll a drum and reload locally. Oh, it looks terrible, and I don't care right now. That's an exercise. I would happily accept a pull request for someone to change that to not look so dreadful. But frankly, all that I care is that I know which site I'm definitely hitting, so that later in a second, when I'm about to deploy all this stuff, I know that I'm hitting the right one. So we'll be able to see beta, and we'll be able to see staging, and we'll be able to see production all separately, right? No one's ever suffered from deploying to the wrong environment, right? Or realised they're looking at the wrong version. So I think that's everything we need to do here, unless I'm mistaken. So I'm going to just do a quick git status here and do some melding again. Okay, staging properties was empty apparently before, so it did actually exist. And now we're saying add that staging tag extra body class. Doesn't really affect anyone. At least as a class thingy tag on the body, but it is using the if statements below to turn on the right logo. Then we're saying the root is /staging. That will mean it will work when it is mounted at a different directory, because the load balancer is going to just pass on the full directory to it. Then message of the day looks good. I guess I should just check that. Oh no, we know that that's working because we just saw it. Here it is. Discuss C++ on the CPP Lang Slack. Wonderful. Okay, that looks good. Explorer CSS. We've just simplified that much better. We've added the world's worst logo and we fiddled that to do the needful thing. Okay, lovely. Right, we're going to do a quick release of this then. So make test. I sincerely doubt that any of our tests will be changed by this, but it's good hygiene, even though my Git hooks are going to do it anyway. This is the longest live coding ever, for what it's worth. Well, longest one I've done so far. Right, so Pantuful, you're saying I wonder why /staging isn't working yet. Because it's configured, but we haven't pushed this version. So it used to be the case that we rewrote using Nginx the if it was anything like /staging or /beta or /whatever to be just the root. But for a variety of reasons, we've decided not to do that anymore. So that means that Compiler Explorer, each instance of Compiler Explorer is aware where in the sort of like the hierarchy it is mounted. And obviously the production thing's mounted on /, so there's no prefix. But for beta and staging, they have to know that they are a /beta /something or /staging /something else. And that's because there are some things that have absolute URLs in them, and we need to be able to create absolute URLs that point back at the same thing. For example, let's just test that now. Well, that didn't work. What is error? Oh, because I'm not running it anymore. That'd be why. All right, let's just do a quick make dev. We'll be able to see that like, when you generate the short URL, it needs to know to generate the /beta /blah. Otherwise, you're going to end up creating a short URL on the beta site that points you back at the live site, and I definitely didn't want that. So it needs to know like its own real absolute path. That's taking too long. See, I forgot to put my single language in. 330,000 different compilers fire up. Come on. There we are. Right. Share, loading, localhost, blah, blah, blah. Z. So there, oh, of course, I haven't actually got /staging in there, but if it had /staging, it would be /staging /z /4fbmpew. Okay, right, everything looked good. We've got some changes here that I'm going to git add. We're going to git commit and say support staging environment. And I don't think I have a GitHub issue link for this, otherwise I would check something in for that effect. Running tests again. So I'm just going to get to the point where the staging site's running, and then I think I'm going to pause and have some lunch. Maybe stop talking for a bit to give my voice a bit of a rest. Yeah, the tests. I hate the fact that those errors actually appear, but it's never worth. There's not errors in the test. They're testing things that generate errors, and then the error gets pushed to stood out or stood error, and I haven't trapped that yet. And it's playtime for the kids across the road, so any screaming you can hear is the children in the playground in the school. Aha! Right. Git push. All right. So now apparently there are some vulnerabilities. That's one of the reasons why I updated Bootstrap in that other pull request, as GitHub is telling me there's a vulnerability in it. It's medium vulnerability. I couldn't see that it was important, but you never know. So let's go to Travis. This is where those tarballs are actually built. And you'll see that any second now, a build will get kicked off. And they take around about 5 minutes, like it says. And when that finishes, we will get a tarball, probably build, there it is, build 4061. And build 4061 will then become available because it will be pushed onto S3. And just to sort of, while we wait, as far AWS back up again. Log in, yes, thank you. Drum roll, S3. Oh, my jaw. Compiler, Explorer, dist. Travis. At the moment we only have things built for the master branch, but here they are. So build 4060 lives here. That's the one that's most recently built, but 4053 was the one, if you remember, we have deployed currently. And this is the tarball of everything, and it's terrifying that a bunch of JavaScript can be 60 megabytes of XZ compressed file, but it is what it is. And I would like to reduce the number of dependencies, but we'll get there. So when this finishes, it'll deploy that 4061 to that directory. And then we will be updating, using the tool, we'll be updating that, come on, version staging file. Now, if I were to click that now and download it, you'd see whatever, I don't know what editor it's going to put there. It's a very exciting file that just literally tells you the path to the particular table that the setup scripts and whatever are going to run. So I think you can probably see now the whole chain through the process. And we're nearly there. Oh, it would be nice to get those staging instances running. And then I'm going to obviously try and work out whether what to do about having the staging and the beta instances running the whole time, because at the moment they're both running the whole time, and it would be nice to change them so that the actual number of instances is variable. But at the moment I think that's actually hard coded into the Terraform. Let me go back over to this thing here and go towards it. ALB, no, auto scaling groups. So desired capacity equals 1, and equals 1 there. I don't know whether desired capacity is something that magically gets propagated all the time or not, because obviously if we've scaled up, if there are like 5 nodes running because we're under heavy load, I don't want, when I do a Terraform deploy, it to then go, oh no, I only want one of them to be running. That would be daft. So I'll have to think about that. But ideally what I would like to be able to do is basically set that to 0 when we are turning up and turning down environments. So I probably will have and add a CE command to enable and disable environments, and maybe something to auto shut them down if they're not being used for a bit. All because the bill. I mean, I'm very lucky that my Patreon support me, and it more than covers the bill right now, which allows me to add in other things like various analytics sites, things like this Sentry, I can never remember the name of it, Sentry, which allows us to track JavaScript side errors. And so the other day we realized we broke something because we started getting a whole bunch of errors coming in. So what kind of errors do we see now? You can have a laugh at the kinds of. So yeah, this message of the day thing, I think I've fixed it now. When was the last time it happened? Yeah, there's a bunch of things, but oh, that's interesting. Toggle maximize. So some of these are in faults in some of the other libraries that we use that we need to update. This one here is that's been and gone. I'm sure I fixed that, but this is the main one. This is like where people aren't being able to get the message of the day, and I'm just logging as to why. And I wasn't sure why people couldn't read the message of the day. It doesn't actually affect your ability to look at the site, but there we are. Okay, support staging environment. So we're going to use the staging environment for its real purpose. You see, normally what would happen now is I would actually fire up the beta environment, or I'd modify the beta environment, which meant any long-running experiment I have in beta would be terminated. So now we have a staging environment. And if I can find my shells wherever I left them, oh, they're there. Yeah, sorry, they're right here. Let's go on to this node here, and we're going to do CE builds set current 4061, and it's going to be running in staging, and it says, you know, hey, you're changing staging, right? Yes, we're changing staging. And by the way, this build was built from master. Is that what you expected? Yes, it's what I expected. And then we've now changed that file. It's just literally written that S3 file. If I were to re-download it, it would look like this travismaster4061.tar.gz. And now to do the needful, I will just literally restart. And so staging will restart, and we should be able to watch it do its thing. And there are some somewhat clever things going on in this restart. It's smart enough to know that it will add in new nodes to keep the min number of nodes happy if it takes a node out. So as the min is 0 in the case of staging and beta, it won't add a new node in. But when you're in production, we never want to kill the one and only node that happened to be running at that time just to upgrade it. So we'll add a new node, let that come in with a new version, and then transition to it, and then stuff like that. So it's restarting the service now. I guess we could look inside Papertrail and watch that service restart happen amongst all of the other things that are going on. Oh, here we go. This is so I'm going to click on this to filter it so we don't see everyone else's nonsense. So there it is. It's just doing whatever the it does. Oh, there you go. In fact, there is the line, that curl SL version staging. There is it getting the version and then getting version 4061. Hooray! And now it's off. It's going, killing old things. And oh, now wine is starting up. See, I hate wine. In fact, my poll that has just completed. I asked everyone, how bad would it be if we removed the Wine x86 compilers from Compile Explorer? We have non-Wine versions direct from Microsoft. Now, the only thing that the Microsoft things don't support is like libraries like Boost, which is a big deal. And I'm hoping Microsoft will be able to help me install Boost on the Microsoft nodes. I don't have access to those Microsoft nodes, so I don't administrate them by my own request. So here you can see all the compilers running. Anyway, the results came in 343 votes. 77% said never used them. 18% said no problem to switch, and 5% said, no, please don't. So I have a bit of a challenge to decide what to do about that. Now, the reason I asked about that is because of this... what is the word? Because of this fire jailing thing, that this is all coming around, like the fact that I want to run executables in a different way. I need to take stuff out of Docker. Well, ideally, I want to have the option to take things out of Docker, and I need to allow things to run in a more hermetic environment, like, for example, FireJail. Right now, what happens is the Wine compilers are the special case. They run as a long process inside the Docker container, and so there's a lot of cross-contamination. The reason that they run as a long-running process is because Wine has its own environment that it maintains, and it has its own set of processes, and then it communicates with pipes and things, and it's all pretty... what's the word? It's all pretty slow to start up. And so if I didn't do that, then Wine builds take like 30 seconds the first time, and then if you happen to do two back-to-back, the second one's a lot quicker, which is fine, but very quickly it times out and disconnects. So I've deliberately got stuff there that runs the Wine daemon long term. Obviously that won't fly in the case of having like a jailed environment that I'm deliberately keeping totally isolated from the world, running a compiler and then killing, which we're not doing right now. So I have to think about how we're going to deal with Wine. I might just special case it for now. It seems enough people use it, which is a shame. Okay, we're running. So we're running there. So there it is, listening on localhost 102.40. And now everything is awesome. And now it's moving it out of standby, which is telling it to the load balancer, hey, this is now eligible for traffic. And then we're waiting for the load balancer to acknowledge that traffic is being delivered because everyone thinks it's healthy. Aha, there we are. It's in service. And now we're saying, hey, wait, does the load balancer think it's... And there it is. It did. And the reason that the load balancer will ping the are you okay until it gets a response back. So, drum roll, everybody. Are you ready? A separate environment for Wine. Yeah, it's just that's definitely a thought, Ouroboros. Yay! Isn't it ugly? Compilation failed. Why are you failing? Is that failing because of an expected problem? Oh yeah, there's no Windows.h. Yeah. There isn't one on ARM, it turns out. So let's go and have a look at WinCE, which has that. Brilliant. Okay. We have a working staging environment. How amazing is that? You've seen pretty much the full suite of how everything gets built and deployed. You've seen... Thank you, Pantufel, who's already ahead of me. That's really cool. That's really cool. Yes, this is awesome. Awesome? I can't talk now. It's been nearly, what, 2 hours and 20 minutes of me gibbering to myself. So thank you so much for joining me on this. I am going to check this. Have I checked it in? Of course I've checked it in. Everything's checked in. That's amazing. We pretty much have done what I was hoping to do. That's amazing. All right, I guess there's one last couple of things I should do. My wife's just back in, so I will probably stop shortly and at least spend a bit of time with her before she goes Crazy. There's nothing mentioned in there. So like, oftentimes documentation is the thing that I forget to do last, and I wondered if we mentioned the beta site anywhere. We don't. No. And staging. It's mentioned only there. That's cool. All right. Let's go to the image directory. Get grep-i beta. To get the beta and lightning. Readme MD. Shared. I mean, I'm not. These things are not glorious, but there aren't too many of them going on. Okay, tests. Okay, right. Well, the next thing I will work on probably is the ability to turn up and turn down the staging and beta environments, just so that we can, shut them down and/or change them to be cheaper instances, nano instances, or something else. Probably not actually. I mean, it's good to test them on decent hardware, as that's what we're actually hoping to do. But thank you for watching this total epic live code. I very much appreciate you being here. As always, I'll be probably doing some more of this later in the week. I don't know if I'll be doing it tomorrow. I may even do one this afternoon, depending on how things go. But probably I'm just going to sit quietly and have some lunch now. So thank you again. And thank you, everybody in the chat, for helping me, especially Carol from earlier, who's offered to help tidy up some of the Terraform stuff, and yeah, all of you. So thank you very much, and I will hopefully see you another time. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to, usual things. Like and subscribe, that thing. All right, bye for now, everyone.